All right, what's the one reason that kids hate to hear from their parents? Because I said so. Everybody hates to hear it. And we always swear when we're kids, we're going to grow up and we're never, ever going to say that to our kids. We're going to always explain until you grow up, have some kids, and then realize you're irritated and don't want to explain. We hate to be questioned sometimes. There was a guy that came in when I was in preaching school that wanted to do a weekend seminar on evangelism, which if you don't know what that means, just going out and teaching the lost. And he had a series called Open Bible Studies. And so this series that he would use, he didn't come up with it, but he would use this and he would go through this Q&A little, tract is what we used to call them. And he would have 3 studies. And the idea was to have 3 studies real quick and get them to obey. And then he had like sales pitches, and get them to say yes and so forth. And so one of the questions while this guy was holding a seminar and talking about, how effective this is and how to do this, one of the questions that was asked was, well, what if somebody wants to talk about X, Y, and Z and brings up something that's off topic and they have a question? And he said, well, we're not talking, you just tell them we're not talking about that right now. And I was like, what? They have a question? Let's see how those two relate. I'm Zach. This is The Average Christian, a project simply about what it means to have a relationship with God, how to live that out practically, and keeping ourselves accountable as Christians. So I'm not necessarily going into any passages, which is crazy to call this video a Bible study. That's your job, your work. And the topic is questioning God. There's one thing Christians don't like, a lot of Christians don't like, and that's questions. You don't question God. I've heard people say they were raised like that. You never, ever question God. They probably haven't read Habakkuk. They likely forgot about Job. Maybe they never heard about Abraham, Moses. I'm giving you those 4 examples. Habakkuk had a problem with God. When you go read that, try spelling it. When you find that little chapter in your Bible, you go read that, or that little book, I should say, with 3 chapters, you go read it and figure out that Habakkuk questions God at the very beginning and says, look, Israel is wicked. Why are you letting this happen? How can you, as a good God, allow for your people to be so wicked? And God says, hey, I've got this taken care of. I got the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, as you'll read. I got the Babylonians, which is a wicked nation, to come in and take care of business, and it's not going to go unpunished. And then Habakkuk sort of loses his mind. Like, how in the world can you bring in a wicked nation to come in and discipline your people, so to speak? And God has an answer for that. And Habakkuk does so respectfully. Habakkuk comes to God out of an I trust you mentality. I trust you. I just don't know how this adds up. Please explain. Abraham questioned God when God was going to, at the beginning or about the middle of Genesis, when God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham starts to bargain with God, which is questioning God. Moses did the same thing at least a couple of times in his life. God came to him and said, I want you to lead my people out of Egypt. And Moses said, no, not me. Not me. I'm a nobody. I don't talk well. They're never going to believe me. He had all kinds of excuses, and God was patient with him, gave him responses, finally got irritated with him, angry with him. And then when you go later on into reading about Moses, I think it's Exodus 34, where God says he's so done with his people that he's going to destroy them and start all over with Moses. And most of us would have said yes, especially as much drama as these people brought to Moses' life. We'd have said, yes, fine, these people are insolent. They can't be taught. Let's get rid of them, be done with it. But Moses says, no, that would make you look bad. So he disagrees with God and in a way questions. What I'm doing is challenging you to question as well. Me and Laura raised our children to question everything. Else, how do you know what it is you really believe? I know people who go to class. I know young people who are frustrated right now because they go to Bible class at church and they ask questions that maybe the teacher is uncomfortable with, and they never give them an answer. They blow them off. They treat them like they're faithless. They treat them like they are trying to be arrogant, those types of things, because they don't want to deal with it. Nothing wrong with questioning God with the mentality. By the way, I mentioned Job and Habakkuk. Habakkuk came to God with an I trust you. Job came to God with an I trust you, but he went through horrible events in his life, and that began to turn into I deserve an answer. Give me an audience. Give me an explanation. You owe me, so to speak, if you read through that book. The Pharisees questioned Jesus all the time, but they didn't have the truth as their goal. They wanted to trip Jesus up. They wanted to make him look bad. They wanted to find some way to get at him So there's two different ways, at least here, of questioning. There's a question that really seeks the truth, always trusts God and wants an answer and just doesn't know yet, but will always believe in and trust God. And then there are those who question because they're just looking to find some sort of hold. They're looking to tear God down, or they're looking for God to prove himself. And God is not and will not be tested like that. But you and I have to question. We have to ask, how do you know what you believe is the truth? How do you know God exists? You think you got that figured out, and then you have an 8-year-old, my youngest daughter, 8 or 9, I can't remember, who says, Dad, how do you know God exists? Well, you got to have your boots tied pretty tight for that talk. And that talk takes not just months and weeks, but years to have that conversation. So question, there's nothing wrong with that. It's how you find the truth. And I guarantee you, God and the Bible hold up against all questions. And if you want to know the truth, you'll look for it, ask them, and keep seeking God. And I hope this helps you on that journey. I want to thank you for being with us today. If you are watching on YouTube and you have not yet subscribed, we have a lot of people who watch these videos. Please hit that button below, subscribe to our channel so that it helps us out. And if you want to see what was released last time, it's over here in this corner. I'm going to get this out sooner or later. If you want to see what YouTube recommends, it's over here in this corner. For our podcast listeners, thank you for being with us. We're asking you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share this. All of you who are listening to or watching this, share this with somebody else to help them.